The first step in solving a problem is recognizing there's a problem.
Tonight, we want to come together as a community and discuss the rise in violent crime across the Piedmont Triad. 2 Wants to Know's Ben Briscoe found the hard facts we all need to hear.
Firing up the TV sheds light on the growing problem. A fight at a kids' football game leads to shots fired and a police chase in Winston-Salem. You're not imagining it.
New details about an officer-involved shooting in Greensboro.
Every time you watch the news,
right now the Greensboro Police Department is investigating yet another shooting.
There's more violent crime in our community.
The people drove down the street, just started shooting, and I can hear my son is telling everybody, get down, get down.
Tracy Dent was right next to her son Jonathan, outside at a family gathering in Winston-Salem, when she says about 30 bullets were aimed right at them.
They came out and told us that he did not make it, and I lost it. I completely lost it. I cry all the time behind doors, just thinking about him, looking at his children, growing up without him.
As time passed, things got worse.
I also lost, my daughter lost her kid's father.
Jalen was killed in another drive-by shooting.
I was still grieving my son, and then this came along. So we've been through a lot.
And about a month ago, Tracy's cousin's wife was shot by a stray bullet while sleeping in her own bed.
When it's tragedy in such a way like this, it's so unbearing,
Oh, I'm very concerned. It's incumbent upon all of us to do everything we can to save lives.
Becky Kierstis with North Carolinians Against Gun Violence says the rise in crime is reaching crisis level.
It's time for our elected officials to really wake up, look at the numbers as to how many people are dying.
According to the FBI, violent crime in Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point has been slowly rising over the past decade as the population of our area grew. And newer numbers tracked by Princeton's American Violence Project show just how staggering the rise in violence is. Over the last 5 years in Greensboro, there were 27 non-fatal shootings per every 100,000 people. So far in 2021, there have been 34. And in Winston-Salem, over the past 5 years, there were 25 shootings per every 100,000 people. This year, that's more than doubled to 54. Out on the streets, the problem becomes crystal clear. Right here, near the 2800 block of Elm Eugene, there were 5 reports of assaults just within this last month. And zooming out across the entire Triad, 2 Wants to Know mapped an overview of violent crimes in September. You can search your neighborhood on WFMYnews2.com, but keep in mind, this is not just a local issue.
Unfortunately, the bad news is that yes, in fact, violence is rising across the country.
Thomas Abt wrote the book Bleeding Out: The Devastating Consequences of Urban Violence and Bold New Plan for Peace in the Streets. He says there's 2 factors most researchers think are driving up crime.
The stress of the pandemic, both on individuals and institutions, is likely partly responsible.
The second major cause is the social unrest that followed the murder of George Floyd. Scholars have 2 theories about why that's led to more violent crime.
The first theory is the theory of depolicing, that police, exhausted by the pandemic, under tremendous scrutiny and criticism, withdrew from voluntary enforcement activities, and that lack of proactive policing contributed to the rise in violent crime.
Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough says the unrest has made it harder to recruit and retain deputies.
This thing about cutting resources to law enforcement, which caused a lot of what I call the blue escape. A lot of law enforcement professionals left law enforcement. A lot of men and women that typically would come to law enforcement don't see it as the profession they want to go into.
The other leading theory is a theory of delegitimizing, which says basically when communities that have been mistreated by the police for generations witness yet another high-profile incident, they turn inward and they don't use the police or the criminal justice system. So people take things into their own hands. They take the law into their own hands and unfortunately, more often those conflicts turn violent, even deadly.
Sheriff Kimbrough adds there are several other issues in our society to consider.
Illiteracy, you have hunger. There's so many things that are causing the increase. A plethora of things that are happening that is creating almost a perfect storm.
A perfect storm of near non-stop crime.
I could have very well been gone just like my son out there.
While talking with Tracy, police sirens went by again.
Most of the time I pick up my phone and I contact one of my kids, are y'all good? Are everything okay? You know, because you just don't know. When you hear sirens, the first thing you think, something has happened. It could easily be you. You know, just like I never thought it would be me, it could be your children, it could be a family member. We have a pandemic going on with COVID, but we also have a pandemic of gun violence.
We did that interview with Tracy about 2 weeks ago, and since then, another one of her family members has been shot. She says her cousin's daughter got caught in crossfire in Winston-Salem. Tracy has some ideas about how to stop the violence. We're going to dig into those and share them with you tomorrow at 5:45. In the meantime, we are also dedicated towards looking for solutions. If you have an idea that might help cut down on crime, we'd love to hear it. So we set up a special hotline. Just call 336-379-5604. That number is also on our website, along with that map of violent crimes where you can search for your neighborhood.